What's going on, everyone? It's Wesley back with you today with Core 4 Sports, and it is officially here. March Madness has arrived. Today's video, I'm going to be previewing our first 4 games that are going to be coming up this Thursday, giving you a couple of statistics from them and who I think will win and why. So let's get right into it. Our first 4 game that I'm going to be talking about is Mount St. Mary's versus Texas Southern. Mount St. Mary's is your Northeast Conference champion, and they shoot this year 33% from 3 and just under 70% from the free throw line. They are led by guard Damian Chunky, and he's averaging 15.1 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, and he's going to be, I think, the key offensively for Mount St. Mary's. He played well in their conference tournament in their couple games there, and he's going to have to be really good if they're going to want to beat Texas Southern. As for Texas Southern, they rebound the ball really well as they're averaging just under 37 rebounds per game. They don't really shoot the ball that well, especially from outside the arc, as they're only shooting 27.4% from 3 this year. Jordan Carl Nicholas, however, is averaging 11.3 points per game and 7 rebounds per game, and Galen Alexander's averaging 10 points per game and 5 rebounds per game. I think the key to this game is if Mount St. Mary's can keep Texas Southern off the glass. If they're able to do that and not let Texas Southern get too many second chance points, I think Mount St. Mary's will be able to win this game. And I think I'm going to go with that pick. So Mount St. Mary's, I pick, will beat Texas Southern on Thursday. Our next first 4 game is going to be Wichita State versus Drake. This is an interesting matchup as we have 2 11 seeds here fighting to get their way into the tournament. Wichita State has a win versus Houston and a win versus Ole Miss, 2 really good wins on their resume, but they do have a really bad loss against Memphis. As for Wichita State, Tyson Etienne averages 17 points per game, and it seems to me that however he goes, the team goes, and they're going to have to really feed off of his success if they're going to want to make a run in this tournament, and if they're going to want to make it out of the round of 68 and into the round of 64. As for Drake started the season 18-0, and it was a big storyline in college basketball. They have one pretty good win against Loyola Chicago, but other than that, they really haven't played anyone of a really good team. They have 2 bad losses, one against Valparaiso earlier in the season, and then one recently against Bradley by 6. Though Drake does have 3 scorers who average double figures, and that could come into play if they get into foul trouble, and their depth might be able to show against Wichita State. However, Wichita State has played a harder schedule, and I think in March that really comes down to what team's going to win. If your team has been tested throughout the season, like Wichita State has in the American, compared to Drake not really being tested at all except for their games against Loyola Chicago, where they lost 2 of them, I think that will make the difference here, and I'm going to pick Wichita State to be the 11 seed and beat Drake. Next up, we have a 16-16 matchup with the right to play Gonzaga, as crazy as that sounds. We have Norfolk State versus Appalachian State. Norfolk State right now is shooting 43.6% from the field this year, and they have 4 players averaging 8 points per game or better. Devontae Carter is their best scorer, averaging 15.5 points per game, and he will need to score the ball in bunches. It seems to me that if he scores well and can initiate the offense and get the players around him shooting the ball well, then that's how their team will go, and that's how they can win basketball games, especially this one against Appalachian State. As for Appalachian State, they're shooting 41.5% from the field and averaging just a tad above 33 rebounds per game, but they have 4 players that average at least 10.5 points per game, and they can put up points, but they do have 11 losses, and that's a big issue for me. I think if you look at teams' resumes, even though Appalachian State is only here because they won their conference tournament, their conference really wasn't that deep this year, and they beat a Georgia State team this year in their conference championship that just really wasn't that good. Norfolk State also really hasn't played that many great teams, but they do not have 11 losses on their resume, which makes me think that they are a better team, and I'm going to go and pick the Spartans. So Norfolk State, I think, is going to beat Appalachian State, and that is my pick for that game. As for our last and probably most interesting first 4-round matchup, it's going to be Michigan State versus UCLA. Michigan State is 15-12 and 9-11 in the Big Ten. They have a few bad losses this year, including to Northwestern, Minnesota, and a really bad loss to Rutgers. They do have wins, though, against Illinois, Ohio State, and Michigan, and those wins came recently rather than earlier in the year like their losses, so it makes you think that Michigan State has a chance to win this game and possibly make a run in March. Michigan State, however, will need a big day from Aaron Henry. Aaron Henry is averaging 15.3 points per game and is shooting 44% from the field. They're going to need to shoot the three ball well as a team, though, if they're going to win this game. If we take a look at their loss against Maryland in the Big Ten Conference tournament, they only shot 4-16 or 25% from three, and they're going to have to pick that up if they're going to want to beat UCLA. As for UCLA, they are 17-9, 13-6 finish in the Pac-12. They have wins versus Colorado, Marquette, and Arizona. Nothing really stands out there, I would say, except that Colorado win. And they have losses against Pepperdine, Stanford, and Washington State. And they have lost 4 straight coming into March. Their leading scorer is Johnny Juzang. He's averaging 14 points per game and is shooting 41% from the field. And I think UCLA is going to have to be able to shoot the ball and then rebound the ball and not really let Michigan State crash the glass, get second chance points, as we've seen them do earlier in this year. Michigan State, obviously, coming into the year, this year was expected to be one of the best teams in the country. At times, they've shown that they can play with the best teams in the country, obviously, as they beat Illinois, beat Michigan, and beat Ohio State. And I think they're going to beat UCLA in the first 4. I just think Michigan State's too good, and who's going to bet against Tom Izzo in March? He's just a great coach, Hall of Fame coach, and he's really good, and he knows what he's doing. They have experience, and so I'm going to go with Michigan State. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be having a lot more videos coming about March Madness this week. You're going to catch Duncan in my prediction bracket tomorrow night, I believe, so stay tuned for that. Also, I'm going to give you a couple sleepers here that you can possibly fill in for your brackets at home. So be sure to like and subscribe if you have not already. And thank you for watching. This is Wesley from Core 4 Sports.